All right, so this knife thoughts video is going to be on this knife, and this is the Queen Winterbottom Bone Barlow. And this knife is actually the prize for a giveaway that I did for the Barlow Bearcat Club. And so the Barlow Bearcat Club is an online knife club that I started for people like me who love Barlow knives. It's based on a kind of a fake club that a journalist ran in the 1950s that I heard about through the Catch Bit Show podcast. And it's been really fun, and we did this giveaway here, and I got the knife and wanted to do a video before I sent the knife off to its owner. So first of all, I have not used or carried this knife. Sometimes people get it up in arms about doing a review on a knife that you haven't used and carried. This is going to be like my impressions of the knife. It's not about how hard you can use the knife or, how you feel about it after a year of use or anything like that. It's just about my impressions of the quality, design, aesthetics of the knife. So I didn't want to use it because I want the person who wanted to get their full use out of it. If you enjoy this type of video, I have lots of videos on knives like this, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife related topics, and also other social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Knife Thoughts. But let's check out this knife here. So first of all, while I didn't use this knife, it came in this type of box that Queen knives are coming in from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So Queen is now the brand, the trademark Queen, and particularly this kind of crown trademark is owned by Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So they're having knives made under the Queen brand, both overseas and domestically. This one was made overseas, this is made in China, and it seems all the hallmarks, reading the knife, make it seem like it's made by the same manufacturer that makes Rough Rider knives. But anyway, they're coming in this type of box. It is a relatively nice box, but it was not down in that cutout there when I got it, so I think it kind of jostled around, and it does have some scratching on the bolster, if you can see that there, on both sides. But this is an inexpensive knife, so you're going to get this for under $20, and it has the really classic styling of a Queen Barlow. So a lot of Queen Barlows, not all, but a lot of Queen Barlows had this really unique curved Barlow shape. So it's not like a typical regular jack style Barlow or a sleeve board shape like a TC 15 TC Barlow from Great Eastern Cutlery. It's not the straight shape that a lot of Barlows have. It has a curved shape, so the spine is curved and the blade well side is curved also. Not only is it curved, it has a little bit of almost like what reminds me of a copperhead style bolster. So there's a corner here. It's not just curved and then rounded. There actually is kind of a protruding corner there. And so, what that does, one thing that does is it makes it so that these are sunken joints. So you can see that the corner of the tangs here sit down within the blade well. And compare that to, again, a Great Eastern Cutlery Barlow, you can see that blade tang corner sticks out there. And I think I have kind of filed this a little bit, or, not like just a little down, not heavily, because that would change the interface with the spring, but it's not quite as protruding as it might have been at one point. But it is a nice feature that it makes them so that they're sunken joints, aesthetically, I think, and then also in use, because since this is a two-bladed knife, when you open one of the blades, the other blade's tang isn't digging into your finger when you're holding this. So I think that those sunken joints are really nice on a user knife, because again, when you open the knife, you don't have to worry about that tang digging into your finger. So this is a single blade, but if it was a double blade, you can kind of feel that tang there. So I do like that. Now, a lot of the Queen Barlows were actually a really interesting integral handle. So they had kind of a hidden back spring. This does not have that, but it has the same look, the same shape as a lot of the vintage, original, however you want to say it, Queen Barlows, the Titusville made Queen Barlows. It also has the same clip point shape generally as those did. So it's a little different than some like GEC clip points. It's got a little bit more of a straight clip to it there and a drawn swedge. You can see the Queen Steel logo there. Queen Steel was basically what Queen called their stainless steel, because they introduced stainless steel a lot earlier than a lot of other companies, and it was a little bit controversial. They didn't want people to not buy their knives because they thought that the stainless steel wasn't good. That sentiment actually persisted for quite a while too. But so that's why they call it Queen Steel, and that's one of the trademarks that Smoky Mountain Knife Works has, I believe. But it is 440C steel, and you can see that it's made in China there. So 440C, it is a better steel, I would say, than the 440A that Rough Rider usually uses. So it's nice to see that they did go with 440C versus 440A. But of course, 440C is definitely no super steel. It is a low-end steel at this point. But it's super stainless. You know, you're not gonna have to worry about wiping this knife off after you use it and things like that. So it's great for a using knife. The Winterbottom bone, I think, looks really good. Now, I have actually, never pursued Winterbottom bone on vintage Queens and other, brands, because it's just something that never really stood out to me. But I think that they've done a good job replicating it, and in a nice way, actually. Now, you can see that this show side of this particular example is a lot darker than the pile side. So, I'm not sure if that's something that's common on these or not. This is, an N of 1. This is the only example I have, but it is quite a bit darker on this show side. I do think that I like the look of the pile side better, but I think both are done really well. And it is, bone. It's not a synthetic. So I like that also. And as for the construction, it's pretty good. I would say that, it's on the upper end of Rough Rider construction. It's probably nicer than most Rough Riders that I've had. So for example, the back springs have really no gaps. It's not perfectly fit like, this isn't actually a great example because I've used this knife so much and so hard that it kind of isn't a perfect fit anymore either. But it's not a perfect fit like a lot of GECs are. So I'll give you another example of a Barlow, and this is actually the Barlow Bearcat Club's first club knife. So here is a GEC, and you can see how the back spring is fit to those liners really, really well. So that's an example of that as compared to the fact that there really are not gaps on this back spring, but it's just not fit quite as well. Then the blades are actually both pretty well centered. The main blade is pretty much perfectly centered. The pen might be off towards the pile side a little bit, but it's not rubbing and is perfectly fine. The action is really nice. I would say that these are both just right about at a 5 pull. You can see that they both have half stops, and neither blade, there's the Queen logo again, neither blade has any blade wobble or blade play. So pretty well done on the action. The pins are all good. I don't see any pin cracks, which is something that you do see on Rough Riders every now and then. Now, the fit of the bone to the bolsters is not perfect. You can see there's some gapping there, but it's really not too bad, to be honest. I mean, to be completely honest, I see some gapping in that transition on GEC knives even, and definitely, on case knives and things like that. So I think that this knife, honestly, is in the kind of high range of quality for Rough Riders. And even really, I don't have a lot of case knives. I haven't been buying case knives, but from what I have seen, I would say that this, has similar quality to a case knife. So if you're familiar with that, I think that this will be pretty, close to what you're used to. Now, again, this is only one example. The rest of them, all of the rest of them could be terrible, but at least this particular one. So I think it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's an inexpensive knife, again, under $20. And, you get a really nice looking, really traditional looking Barlow knife for, a pretty fair price. and it's made pretty well. I'm gonna give you a couple quick size comparisons here. There is the, again, GEC 15, and then here is a GEC 25. This is, again, the Barlow Bearcat Club's first club knife. So you can see that it's really close in length to the GEC 15, but it's definitely a heftier knife. You can also see that the blade is, maybe a little shorter. You don't get quite as much blade, quite as good of a blade to handle ratio, but good traditional size for a Barlow, I would say. So I really hope that the member who won this really enjoys it. I plan to do more giveaways for the Barlow Bearcat Club members, and I've enjoyed getting to check it out myself. To be honest, if I was going to recommend a Barlow to someone who, wasn't an enthusiast, didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, but just, wanted a Barlow knife, or maybe wanted to get their first Barlow knife, didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, maybe coming over from modern knives, this would definitely be high on the list of recommendations. I have recommended Rough Riders before, and I think that this is, a little bit better, to be honest, than most of the Rough Rider Barlows I've seen. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Feel free to leave any comments you have about this knife, or about, whatever you like about Barlows in general and things like that. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.